Camryn's trying to join in on us. There
Hi,
she is.
Kevin.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you.
Good. Good to see you as well.
We're going to just let some people jump in while we
Sounds good.
chat a little bit.
Awesome.
How crazy is this cancellation of school? Has Whitworth reached out to you and let you know about what to expect yet?
Yes, so we are fully online for the rest of semester. So I have moved back home. I mean, obviously not too far of a distance, but yes, we are fully online for the rest of semester. So I will be FaceTiming into classes and just doing work from home, which is so crazy because it happened so fast. I mean, first we were just hearing that like schools nearby were canceling, like UW was going to be online for like a certain amount of time, and then before I knew it, we were online too. And yeah, it's just crazy like that most of my friends are at home now and I'm at home now, obviously sooner than expected. So yeah.
Well, that is nuts.
Yeah, super crazy.
If you would have told me this is what we were going to be doing 6 months ago, I would have thought you were crazy. Anyway.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
For those of you joining us, Camryn is a freshman at Whitworth University.
Mm-hmm.
She played on our 01 girls team last year. Team was very successful, very tight-knit. We are actually trying to do a couple of these IG live type of interviews just to open up our college process advising a little deeper, allow for you to ask questions, and to allow our alumni to maybe give some insights as to what they went through their experience, and hopefully that that helps people who may be in the same boat at some point. Camryn, your college process was not as cut and dry as a lot were, right? Why don't you share a little bit of that, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, sure. So initially, I really did want to play D1 soccer. That had just been something that was always pretty ingrained in my mind, especially as teammates and people I knew were starting their process as well. So my main focus was looking to play D1 soccer, even though you obviously had emphasized to be open-minded to D2 and D3 schools. My main emphasis was reaching out to D1 schools. And so that being said, I did have offers come in from D2 and D3 schools. However, I still tried to concentrate my mind on pursuing D1 offers. And so that was my main focus. Especially as I did get my first D1 offer to play my sophomore year of high school, when I was just playing a high school game. So the second that happened, I was very encouraged, obviously, because I mean, I had been reaching out to schools, but that was kind of the first thing on my mind, and yeah, really was my biggest encouragement moving forward. And so then I really did start to put most of my time into pursuing the interest that I had from Division I schools, especially as a lot of them were going to make my school either very cheap or free. And so that was super exciting as well. And so then when it became time to kind of nail down where I wanted to go and to separate schools that I either wanted to go on visits to, the deciding factor was if it was really a Division I college that would help me to excel in my soccer growth or not. And so that was kind of the separating factor for me. So I started going on Division I visits with my dad late sophomore year, early junior year. Was visiting whenever I had a free weekend, wasn't playing. And so that was super, super exciting. But then when it became time to actually commit to a school, I did commit D1, and that was exciting. It was going to be free for my family, which was something my family was also very intrigued about. And so I committed D1 at the kind of the end of my junior year on a full ride. And then at the beginning of my senior year, I went on my official visit down to the school. Up until then, I kind of was uneasy about my commitment just because it felt like super rushed, especially because my just friends at school had not even started looking at college at all. I mean, that wasn't
Mm-hmm.
something that was really on their radar, and it didn't have to be on their radar because, I mean, most regular people don't start looking at colleges until their senior year, versus I was starting earlier because women's college soccer recruiting, it does start earlier, and that's nobody's fault, but it does put a lot of stress
Starts
early.
earlier depending on the level, for sure.
Yes, no, most definitely. And so I went on my official visit, came home, and realized that the program wasn't for me. I had overlooked a lot of things, I think, committing to that program,
Like what?
especially I'd overlooked my personal happiness, distance from home, other outside factors such as faith and my lifestyle personally, just outside of soccer,
Mm-hmm.
were all things that I had kind of overlooked committing to that program, where I was mainly just focused on soccer development. And so I came home and really just talked about it with my family and decided that the best choice for me was going to be to decommit from that program to focus more on what I wanted for myself, which wasn't going to be soccer development moving forward. It was going to be fostering who I am as an individual and choosing a more faith-oriented community, which was a very difficult decision, being that I guess
Mm-hmm.
I had just been in this mindset for so long that I wanted to go to college mainly to play soccer, but now it was okay, I want to go to a school that's going to offer what I want to do academically, but also help me grow as a person more. And so that was a very tough decision, but it ended up being for the best. And then I basically started my college process all over again, and
Yep.
then ended up at Whitworth.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you guys who are watching this process, once Camryn decided that she was going to probably need to look elsewhere, was not, like she said, very easy.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it took a lot of thought,
Yes.
discussions,
Mm-hmm.
because she had to basically start all over, and she didn't know
Mm-hmm.
exactly where where she wanted to go at that point. She had to.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree, Cam, that your process was more in depth? Your
Yes.
second go around, it was
No.
more about looking at the whole experience of your college experience rather than just one part.
Yes, no, most definitely. It was so different. Mostly because before it had been me reaching out to offers that were already on the table, but the second time around it was me having to put myself out there and really be the one kind of tiptoeing out on the tightrope, just saying, hey, like, I'm a free agent now, basically. I still do want to pursue playing college soccer, and this is what I want moving forward. And so I would say that was the main shift, just process of approach. But yeah, no, it was very scary because I was in a spot where it was, I mean, the beginning of my senior year, where most girls my age were already committed to go to a school. They already knew where they were going to be going. College rosters were mostly filled up. And so it was kind of, yeah, it was just scary on my part, not knowing what my next step was going to be, basically.
Awesome experience to share.
Mm-hmm.
What was your priority? Well, you kind of touched on what your priority
Mm-hmm.
was looking at once you decommitted.
Mm-hmm.
Why Whitworth? What has your experience been at Whitworth? But what was your primary, because you're talking about going from a mid-major D1 school to
Yes.
a D3 school. What was the primary reason why you looked at Whitworth?
Yes. So the primary reason why I chose to go to Whitworth was the community of people. They, from the very get-go, Brian Olsen, the head coach on the women's soccer team, seemed to be very, very invested in who I was as a soccer player, yes, but more importantly, who I was as a person. And I just felt that moving forward, I wanted my 4 years to be focused on developing who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And I mean, yes, I always want soccer to be a part of that, but more importantly, I wanted to be able to grow in ways I never thought that I could. And that has been something that I've found at Whitworth day in and day out, not only from Bo Olson as the head soccer coach, but from the program in general. I mean, soccer obviously is the main emphasis, but I think that we are really pushed to grow and love in who we are as teammates on the field, but also off the field as well. And so that was the main draw for me to attend Whitworth. Also for academic reasons, being that they offered different majors than the prior university that I was committed to offered. And so that was obviously factored into the reasoning why I chose Whitworth as well. But mainly it was for the soccer program that really pushed me to grow as an individual.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how did you enjoy your first season, freshman year? Did you play a lot?
Yes, so I did get a lot of playing time from the very beginning. I started our first couple games. The playing time was pretty even just because we were in preseason, and it was not about playing our best players all the time, but it was about getting everybody on the field. And then moving into season, I was thankful enough to be able to start and to get a lot of time on the field. And I would say our first season was a little bit tough. If you looked at our record, we did not come out ahead very often, but I would say that this was definitely a growing year for our team. We grew a lot in terms of team chemistry. I mean, you won't see that in our stats at all, but I would say we did a lot more the important behind the scenes growing this year, working together as a team, finding out how we all individually function, getting rid of cliques from the very get-go, and just working on loving each other outside of the field. And so I think that that's going to be super important moving into our next season is going to help us be super successful, because now we do have those bonds where we trust each other. And that was, I think, the most separating factor for me, at least on the Sounders 01 team, was that we did have amazing team chemistry. And I think that actually was the main factor why we did end up having a lot of success, because we all trusted each other. It was never a question to if I felt comfortable playing anyone on the team, because I did, and I wanted to work hard for them because I loved all of them. It wasn't a question whether I was going to track back or not. It was just so instinctual, because I was like, this is my family. Like, I'm obviously going to work hard for them. And so I think we did a lot of that kind of growing this year, which was super important. And obviously the results that we had were frustrating at times, but when I reflect back upon our season, we did a lot of growth as a family. And so I think it was successful in terms of that.
That's awesome. I want to stay on the chemistry thing for just a second.
Sure.
I was fortunate enough to be a part of your 01 team for a couple of years.
Yeah.
It was a very tight-knit group. You kind of touched on it, but if you were talking to younger teams and younger players right now, how important to you, having won 3 state championships, how important was that team chemistry when you look at the impact on your team performance?
I think that team chemistry that we had was really the foundation of all of our success. It was the most important thing for our team, because like I said, it's hard to work for players that you're not close with, or that you don't mind sacrificing for. And that also helped off the field with even training decisions. Like, our team was so committed. We didn't play other high school sports. We sacrificed for practices. We sacrificed on weekends to travel. And I don't think that we would have been as willing to make those sacrifices for the team if we didn't have the team chemistry that we did. And that even showed up on game days where, I don't know, maybe like someone was going through something tough, but hey, there were 17 other players ready to pick them up and encourage them and be there for them. The second they stepped on the field, we were going to encourage each other. We weren't going to be like other teams bickering at each other. We were always going to be lifting each other up, despite failures when maybe someone took a bad touch. But we were also going to celebrate each other's successes. And so I think that was huge. And I think that was everything, and attributed 100% to the success that we had. And had we not had the team chemistry that we did, I don't think that we would have been as successful.
I agree. That's a great testimony there, Camryn. Thank you. Well, I want to move into a little bit different area.
Okay.
things are a little funky right now
Yes.
because you're on your own
Yes.
pretty much. What are
Mm-hmm.
you doing to keep fit during this downtime?
Yeah, so I have been doing a lot of running and lifting on my own, and I'm lucky that my brother did play for the club, but still is playing club soccer, and that he, obviously, I live with him. I don't really have to social distance myself from my brother, so, um, so we have been able to play. We go to SFCC pretty much every day, and we knock balls and we do technical work as well, and so that's been super awesome just to have him able to play with, and that's a lot more motivating than playing by yourself. But I don't know, I would say that my biggest encouragement is just that this is a really awesome opportunity to do a lot of the unseen work that you would do normally. Yeah, I would say that this is a really awesome opportunity for that, actually, because I mean, obviously we aren't allowed to have soccer practice or training as normal where you could still do unseen work, but now is a time where you have nothing. So I mean, nobody's watching, but this is definitely a time to separate yourself and to say, hey, I mean, training's not required right now, but what can I do to still be better? So
Yep, that's awesome. I love the unseen work comment.
mhm.
So important for
Mhm.
young players to understand that.
Definitely.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
So we'll go through these questions that were sent in real quick.
Sure, sounds good.
Are you happy you stayed in Spokane for college? It doesn't have to go into a lot of detail, just
Yeah.
a couple sentences for each one. But are you happy that you stayed in Spokane for college, being from here?
Yes, no. So that was definitely a worry that I had. I mean, college is definitely a good time to move out of state and go live on your own, but I actually have been very happy in Spokane. I've never had any problems with living in Spokane, and I think that even still being in Spokane, it does feel a lot different than being at home because I'm still living in the dorms. I'm away from my family. I don't see my family every week. And so it kind of feels like I'm still living my own life, even though I'm still here. And then obviously there's perks. I can come home for dinner every once in a while, see my mom, my dad.
Right.
So,
do laundry.
Yes, that's been nice.
That's great. In what ways did you reach out to colleges, and how did they communicate with you?
So I reached out to colleges by email initially. That was how I reached out to all of them. I would email like a month or so before tournaments, and then I would follow up with another email as soon as the tournament schedule came out. Yeah, mainly by email. And then when colleges would communicate back with me, either via email or via text or phone call. Usually it was phone call, actually, because I would include all my contact information at the bottom of the emails. And so then when I would get phone calls, then I would continue to communicate with the colleges over the phone.
Right. Yeah. For those of you who are watching who have questions on communication, there are certain dates that the NCAA enforces in terms of when you can reach out to what class and what methods. We have information on that. I believe it's on our website. And if not, you can always talk with one of our college advisors. I do the college advising on the women's side, so you're always welcome to reach out to me. And I think it's Nick Piger and Mike Policio who do it on the guys' side. Final question before we go to anybody who has questions live. What did you do to stand out to college coaches? So I think what they're asking is, did you do anything different when you went to showcases? What was your mindset? Was there, or did you just kind of always play like somebody was watching?
Yeah, no, I would say that that's the biggest thing, is always playing like somebody's watching, because you never know when colleges come, if they're going to be wearing their college gear. You don't know if what games they're going to be at. I mean, sure, they may tell you ahead of time, but you never know. They might slip in here and there. They might be there when you're not expecting. You may think they're going to come in the first half, but like they're watching someone else, so they slip in for the last 15 minutes or so. So I would say that I never changed how I was going to play. I wouldn't play or try to focus on playing extra well for showcases. I would just say that I tried to focus on what I could control, which was how I could play and how I could impact my team. And so I would say that that's the biggest thing, is to always play like you think someone's watching. And that's important too, not only for showcases and tournaments, but also just regular games. I mean, you don't know if you could just be traveling a random weekend to Seattle and, hey, I don't know, maybe like the staff from SPU pops in to watch a game. You just have no idea who could be watching at any given time. And so I would say the most important thing is to always have that on the back of your mind. Like, oh, this game, like this could be the difference between like the next 4 years. Like you just have no idea. And so that's definitely the most important thing. And I would say what I focus on the most.
Awesome. Well, I tell you what, we have quite a few still watching. If anybody has a question right now that you'd like to ask Camryn or myself, rather you focus on Camryn, please just type it in the comments here. We'll give you a couple minutes. I'll touch on a couple other things while we wait. Camryn, do you feel like going to a Division III school gives you more time socially? What is the difference? I mean, I know you didn't experience it in terms of class load and things like that, but part of the concern that some kids have when looking at colleges is, am I going to be able to handle the class load with the, the sports commitment? What's the sports commitment? I guess this is the question. What is the sports commitment level like at Whitworth University?
So at Whitworth, I mean, obviously the commitment is very high. You're committing to a team, you're committing to the success of that team. And so, I mean, we do have practice 4 days a week. Tuesday is our off day when we're in season. And then we usually have games either home or away, Saturday and Sunday. And so the commitment, I mean, is obviously there. And we have team meetings outside of that. And we're expected to be at practice on time every single day, and to do rehab if we have that before. But I would say that it is very manageable with schoolwork, and it's all about, I mean, making time for that on your own and being able to sacrifice outside of the soccer to be like, oh, well, maybe I want to go hang out with my friends, but actually, like, I need to sit down and do my schoolwork because I know later I have practice. And I would say that soccer has always helped me with time management in that way. Knowing that I have practice later motivates me to be like, before practice, okay, I need to sit down and get like these 1 or 2 assignments done, because later after practice, I know that I'm going to be tired and I know that I have other homework I need to do. So I need to get these assignments done now. So I would say it's honestly, I mean, pretty much the same commitment as playing for a club team at Whitworth, although like the soccer load is a little bit different, meaning that we have more practices per week, but it is pretty similar when it comes down to practice time and time management, just being a regular club player, knowing that, I mean, you need to get assignments done before practice as well. So
awesome. We had a couple questions come in.
Sure.
We'll ask 1 or 2 of them and then let you get. But,
okay, sounds good.
What surprised you the most about college soccer? What was something that you did not expect?
I would say
Jezza asked that question.
Okay. I would say the thing that surprised me the most about college soccer was that it ended up being a pretty easy transition for me to Whitworth, because the team atmosphere was pretty similar in terms of that. We don't have cliques on the team that I'm on now, and we didn't have cliques on the club team that I was on before, and that we're really inwardly focused like I was when I was playing for the club, that it's focused a lot on the person and making that team chemistry happen. And so I just wasn't sure if that was going to be an emphasis on a college soccer team. I thought it was going to be more, okay, like technical development, all our team meetings were going to be about strategy and about tactics, but honestly, a lot of our team meetings at Whitworth are about how can we love each other better as a team? How can we foster these friendships so we're willing to sacrifice on the field? And so that was definitely the thing that surprised me the most about college soccer.
That's great. Then there's a question that the answer is no for you, but I'm going to address it. Were you ever on a B team or Shale team? If so, how was the change to the A team? Camryn was not, but on the 01s, I think there were 2 girls who were actually on a C team that worked their way up, right? and then 2 or 3 others who were on a B team
Yes.
that worked their way up onto the Rave team that
Yes.
played with Camryn. So
Yes.
it's just a matter of working hard,
Mm-hmm.
continuing to come out every day, knowing that you're in front of staff, and just go for what you want to do.
Yes.
It is always possible. That is one of our most successful teams ever.
Mm-hmm.
And 5 or 6 of those teams started off on a shale or B team, and even a C team.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we'll go one more. Say again. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to add something to that. I was going to say that some of those players ended up being like some of the most successful players on our team. I mean, they came in, and once they were on the team, it was like they had never not been on the team. And so I would say that their motivation of being on like maybe a C or a B team was only, okay, well, there's a level above me, and like, what can I do to get there? And they all have really, really amazing stories. And it's honestly like looking at them now, it's so crazy to think, holy cow, like this girl was on the C team. You honestly would just like look at these girls now and question like how. It's just insane.
People develop at different rates too. So
yes, most definitely.
When you're younger, you might have certain attributes that are very good, but maybe lack in one area, and just staying within a system that builds upon itself allows you to work on those things. And when opportunities present themselves, then you just take advantage of them. Final question is, where do you want your soccer career to go? So I think they're asking maybe if you have any plans to play afterwards, or if you used soccer primarily as a something you love to do and just saw where it took you, and it ended up taking you to Whitworth. What do you want to do with soccer?
That's a really great question. I am not quite sure what I want to do with soccer yet. I mean, that's not something I've really been thinking about, I guess, what I'm going to do beyond my 4 years at Whitworth. I'm not quite sure whether I am just going to go into my career, but I do know that I always want soccer to be a part of my life, however I can, whether it's coming back to give back to the club or coming back to give back to Whitworth. I definitely.
Well, you've already had coaching experience, so we'll take that.
Yeah.
And there's always the women's first team, the WPSL, right? So you could be in your career and still playing. Actually.
Yes. So I don't want my 4 years to be the end of my soccer career, but what that looks like after, I'm not really quite sure yet.
All right. Well, Camryn, I appreciate you taking quite a bit of time. Oh, wait, this is actually a very good question. I'm going to give it one more. Was there a pressure for you to compete at a Division I level from yourself or your peers? So were you under pressure from your peers or yourself thinking that you had to play at a Division I level? That's a great question, actually.
That is a really good question. I would say that I was. It was difficult for me to look around at even just my teammates, but also just other athletes, even in different sports, seeing, holy cow, like they're at a level where they can go and do this. And I mean, that's the top tier thing that you can do. And so, I mean, I would say it's kind of like a similar pressure when you have different teams, even just in a club versus like CAB team. I mean, obviously, like you're going to try to strive for that top level. And so I definitely think that there was pressure for me to compete at a D1 level, not from coaches, but mainly just from myself, holding myself to high standards, but also, I mean, it wasn't my peers ever being like, oh, you need to go play D1 level, but it was just almost, I don't want to say expectation because that might not be the right term, but just people knew that that's what I was capable of. And so they encouraged that. And so I would say there was pressure to go play at the D1 level, mainly from myself, though, holding myself to these standards and being like, oh, well, I mean, I do have these offers. And so, I mean, this is something I'm capable of. And so I'm going to want to achieve what I'm capable of doing. So there definitely was.
And it's important based on your, sorry for interrupting.
Oh, no worries.
Based on your experience and what you went through after you committed, it's important to, I'm talking to everybody else now, it's important to take to take a lesson from what Camryn learned, and that's to make sure you're looking at every aspect of your college experience.
Most definitely.
There will be pressure, and there's nothing wrong with playing at a Division I level. It's good soccer. It's great, but really look at what you're trying to get out of your college experience, the whole thing, and then go from there. The other thing is, and I'll close with this, Camryn's team, like we touched on, was probably one of the most successful teams in our club's history, and only 3 of them went Division I. One of them ended up transferring, and now she's going to be going to a Division II. So just because you're capable doesn't mean it's the perfect fit for you, and that's what we as a club want you to get, is the perfect fit, so that you enjoy your time, not just playing college soccer, but going to college. Camryn, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'll give you a shout in a little bit just to wrap up. But
sounds good.
Do you have anything else? Are you good?
The last thing that I would add is that you should choose a school for soccer that you would be happy at if you were not playing soccer. I would say that was something that I didn't focus on the first time that I committed to going to a school. That wasn't really, I mean, I had heard that, but that wasn't really something I focused on until the second time around in my process was, okay, if I did not have soccer 2 out of the 24 hours I have in a day, could I be happy here? And when that answer was finally yes, then I knew the program was correct for me.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
That's a fantastic way to end, Cam.
Thank
you for that. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Bye, Kevin.
All right. Bye.